Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Boxiest, and today we are going to continue the What If series. What if events had gone differently? And in this What If, we're going to change the history of Cobra Kai. What if Johnny won the fight between him and Daniel during the events of Cobra Kai Season 4? So in this timeline, Johnny and Daniel would still team up, and they would train their students for the All Valley. In the early half of Season 4 would stay the same. Kreese would still get Terry Silver. Terry and Kreese would still confront Johnny and Daniel. Daniel would be surprised to see Terry Silver after all these years. Daniel would remember everything Terry Silver did to him, and he would still be afraid. Kreese would get into Johnny's head about him playing second fiddle to Daniel, and Daniel would tell Johnny about the events of Karate Kid 3. Johnny would understand. Daniel would still want to take over the students' training. He would only want to train using Miyagi-Do. He would say that since Miyagi-Do had beaten Cobra Kai in the past, it would work again. Johnny would be against this, so Johnny and Daniel would still agree to fight to determine which style would win. Johnny and Daniel would start training for their fight, and the night of the fight, Johnny would want to reconsider this. He would tell Daniel that maybe there was a different way, but Daniel wouldn't back off. He would say that Miyagi-Do was the only way, so the fight would carry on. Daniel and Johnny would still fight. Johnny would strike first, and he would get the first point. The score would be 1-0. Daniel would still come in, and he would get the second point. The score would be 1-1. Daniel would still get the second point, and the score would be 2-1. Daniel would realize that this was his chance of winning, so he would use the pressure point technique against Johnny. Johnny would defend himself from the pressure point technique, and he would get the second point. The score would be 2-2. Johnny would start fighting more aggressive, and he would get the final point against Daniel, so Johnny would beat Daniel in this timeline. Most of the Eagle Fang students would cheer. Miguel would be disappointed, but Sam would secretly be happy, because this would mean that she could still train in Eagle Fang. Daniel would be mad and disappointed. This is when Eli would show up at Miyagi-Do, and everyone would be surprised to see him that way. And in this timeline, Johnny and Daniel wouldn't split up. Johnny would be mad. He would say that none of this would have happened if they hadn't backed down from the fight. Johnny and Daniel would comfort Eli. Johnny would say that their new training would start tomorrow. Eagle Fang and Miyagi-Do would start training in offense. Daniel would watch as Johnny and Sam would get one-on-one training. This would make him mad. He would still want to train in Miyagi-Do, but Amanda would tell him that he lost, and that he was gonna have to accept Johnny's way of teaching, and Daniel would start learning some more Eagle Fang offense. Dimitri would still convince Eli to come back to Miyagi-Do, so Eli would still join Miyagi-Do in this timeline. Miguel would want to convince Daniel to teach him some more defense, so Daniel would start teaching Miguel in secret. Eventually Johnny would catch them, and Johnny would confront Daniel, but Daniel would say that Miyagi-Do was the only way. This would make Johnny mad, and Johnny would see that Miguel didn't want to stop training in Miyagi-Do, so he would make a compromise with Daniel that they would train in both styles of karate. So Eagle Fang and Miyagi-Do would train in both defense and offense. And the day of the prom, Daniel and Johnny would confront Kreese and Terry, but they wouldn't fight, and that night would be uneventful. The night of the tournament, the students would be fighting. They would use a combination of defense and offense. The Cobra Kai students would fight using both methods. They wouldn't eliminate as much students. Daniel would realize that Cobra Kai had Miyagi-Do. Johnny would tell Daniel that if they could only imagine if they only used Miyagi-Do. And Sam would still fight Piper in this timeline, but Sam would easily defeat Piper in this timeline. Eli would still get his confidence, and it would still be Eli and Miguel during the boys semifinals. And Miguel would defeat Eli in this timeline, so it would be Miguel and Robbie in the finals. They would both use a style of offense and defense. It would still be a close match, but Miguel would be more focused, and Miguel would beat Robbie in this timeline. And during the girls finals, Sam would fight Tori. Tori would use a style of both Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do. Sam would also use defense and offense, and the fight would stay the same. Tori would still beat Sam in this timeline because Terry Silver paid off the referee, but since Miyagi Fang scored the most points, they would win overall, and the season would still end the same way. Miguel wouldn't run away in this timeline, Terry would still betray Kreese, Johnny and Daniel would continue training their students in Eelfang and Miyagi-Do, and they would hear that Cobra Kai didn't shut down, so Daniel would still get chosen in this timeline. And that is where I'm going to end this what if. Thank you guys for watching. What do you guys think would have happened if Johnny won the fight against Daniel during the events of Cobra Kai Season 4? Let me know in the comments below. All members have access to emojis that can be used in comments and live streams. This isn't mandatory. This is only something extra if you want to support the channel even more. YouTube lets me know that the majority of you are not subscribed, so if you guys could subscribe, that would be much appreciated. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. And I'll see you guys next time.